The Navy, and well, the whole government was in the process of pooling the research concepts and abilities of the government, universities, and industry to try to have efficient development of new material for the war effort. And because of what he had been doing on that job for the hydrophone, he was called in by Admiral Furer. He called together a group of the top Navy scientists at ONR and places like that, and university people to come together to have a meeting.
Focus group. Yeah. So what's interesting about that is the Navy acts one way during war and another way during peacetime, and it's something that has always been the case because when you need to develop something fast, you have to develop something fast. So what's really nice about this story and what it means for his life and our history is that he was doing the right things at the right time. He was involved in this focus group, and he learned a lot about how to put something into production that needs to work because it's life or death in the moment, how to do it quickly. And in that time period, what was the total number of different designs? It was something like,
well, they during the war, they developed and put into production on the order of 150 different types of transducers.
150 different types of sonar transducers created, put into production, and then what was actually produced was like thousands of.
Yeah, and then also, as soon as a new thing came out, the Nazis would have a countermeasure, and they'd have to redesign, and sometimes these things went through as much as 2 or 3 actual evolutions.
It's amazing.
And the whole war took place in 3.5 years.
Yeah, and all of that, he was at the forefront, and he took that knowledge with him, and the knowledge that we spoke of before about production engineering, design, and all these groups needing to work together. Those became things that were of great value for him professionally. And what he wanted to eventually create in his own business.
Yeah. What happened with the group with Admiral Furer, that first meeting, the head of the government laboratories got up and said, look, right now, the one sonar transducer we had was made of Rochelle salt that was like 2 inches long by 1/2 inch wide by 1/8 of an inch thick. So what we should do is standardize. We will say that all transducers that are being developed will be built with that type of a crystal, and that will allow us to be able to make millions of crystals very rapidly, and we'll have the raw materials there to put together all these different transducers immediately as we design them. And my father listened to it, and he looked around, and it was here's all the top government and scientific people in the country.
Many years older than him.
Yeah, many years older. He was only in his early 30s. He's saying, why isn't anybody saying anything?
He's looking around.
And so Admiral Furer says, well, that sounds like a logical idea. Does everybody agree, or does anybody have something to say about it?
He's like,
and he was looking around and saying, somebody's got to say something. And finally he raised his hand. And when you're trying to describe something of a technical nature, you can't talk technicalese because they're not going to understand what you're talking about. He got up and said, well, Admiral, I don't think that's a very good idea because you'll be tying the hands of the designers. This would be the equivalent to if you're going to take an I-beam and say we're going to standardize I-beams, that every I-beam is going to be 6 inches long, 3 inches wide, and 1/2 inch thick. And you say all bridges and buildings are going to be built with this I-beam. It's not going to work because if it's a huge expanse, you're going to have a big one. And you can't tell them to build everything with the same I-beam because
it limits your
physics will be totally limited. He said, yeah, that's right. And he said, look, I'm setting up a subcommittee which is going to be in charge of new sonar development, and you're in charge of it.
Yep.